Welcome yet to another YouTube video, another session. My name is Morris. I'm here with members of SAS, which is a skeptic and atheist society in Kenya. And we have a very interesting and exciting topic ahead of us. It's one of the topics that has been hitting the headlines in this part of the continent, especially in Kenya, cultism. As we speak, we have mass graves from a cult being discovered in coastal counties. So it's a very pertinent issue. And I hope we can do it justice and discuss it properly. So I'll start off by defining what is a cult. Cult, everybody has their own definition of cult. But I'll go with the dictionary one because I don't want to be biased. I also have my own definition. And they're saying a cult is a system of religious venerations and devotions directed toward a particular figure or object, like the cult of Olaf or Saint Olaf. So it is a religious devotion, a group of people who have come together for a certain religious devotion or purpose. That's the definition we are going to use today. I know many different dictionaries have different definitions. So I'm going to go quickly through 5 key characteristics of a cult. What is a cult? We've seen what it is. What defines a cult? Number 1, of course, a cult has to have a leader. Most of the time you'll find that these leaders are charismatic leaders. It's a leader who is, number 1, is normally like a spiritual leader. Is a dictator. He's a spiritual leader who is a dictator, who is unquestioned. He's normally not, nobody is allowed to question him. And number 2, he's not accountable to anybody. He is the top, he's the apex. So that is one key characteristic of a cult. Number 2, his members are encouraged to have this unquestioning devotion. Like your commitment to a cult has to be without doubt. If you doubt, they want you out. So they are left with people who don't question, who don't doubt. They are there with their spirit, with their emotions, with their physicality. So they have they demand unquestioning devotion or loyalty to them. The other thing, the number 3, is that members who are loyal are encouraged to exclude the other people who are not part of that cult. So if you belong to part of that cult, you've seen most members of a cult even do not want even to mingle with their families, their own nuclear families. Someone gets into a cult, they don't talk to their mother, they don't talk to their brother or their sister. That has been that's one major characteristic of a cult. It wants the members to exclude themselves from any non-members. We are the right ones and anybody else is not right. The other one is preoccupation with money. Most cults you find they are mostly about money. It's exactly why they are asking for, they fear that if you question or if you interact with other people, they are going to enlighten you and then they are going to lose on that money. So they are also occupied with money, and that's why you find, like in the case of Kilifi, people are being told to sell their properties and bring it to the cult leader, and you focus on the going to heaven. So they are mostly preoccupied with money and wealth. They are also preoccupied with recruiting new members. They're obsessed with new members. How are you going to get new members? Because members equals to money. The bigger the cult, the more the rich the owner. So they are preoccupied with money. Finally, of course, this connects with the first one. The reader they have this superficial charm. They don't just tell you, come to here and we are going to do 1, 2, 3. They give you something charming, something, they're very charismatic and they are very narcissistic. But at the same time, they give you something that you really need. Like let's say you are poor. They're going to give you a charm of how you're going to make money, how your poverty problems will be solved. Let's say you're sick. They will create a cult where we heal the sick instantly. So you can imagine how desperate you are when you have maybe stage 3 cancer. This is the only hope you have. Someone comes with superficial charm of, we went to a crusade and that guy had stage 3 cancer and they were healed. And then you go for it, they tell you they need this money. So they have that superficial charm. They have preoccupation with money and they have that superficial charm. So those are the key characteristics of a cult. I'll pause there for now, and let's hear from someone else on what they think. I want to hear people's opinion on what they think. Then from there we come and compare cults versus religion. What's the difference and what are the similarities? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maurice, for that outline of what a cult entails. And I agree with all of those qualities, and I do see them within the current cult situation in Kenya, the one led by Paul Mackenzie of Good News International Church. By the way, he's calling it good news, but I see no good news whatsoever. Exactly. Yes. So one thing I noticed that stood out with that particular cult, and that echoes one of the characteristics in the outline Maurice has given us, is special privileges given to the cult leader. This Paul Mackenzie was the only one who was not fasting to death. He expected all of his followers to do that, to deny themselves. He was telling them that if you skip meals, that you will be killing the physical aspect of you, will be killing the flesh, but building the spirit, right? So he was expecting his followers to make a sacrifice, but he was not making that sacrifice. So that is a key characteristic of cult leaders, that they are the exception to the rule. They make regulations to be followed by everybody else, but they become the exception to the rule. Another way we see it in that particular community was how he used to live, like the lifestyle of Paul Mackenzie. He owned a lot of properties that were given to him by his followers, but when his followers came to the compound, very often they were separated from each other. They were put in grass-thatched mud huts. That was the situation in the Good News International Church. So you see him, he's living in a complete house that has all the qualities that one would desire, but his followers were put in grass-thatched houses. Then I will segue into another quality that is common to cults. Very often, they control your access to information and networks. Because it's actually, a cult is really about controlling people. That's what it's about, controlling people. So if you want to indoctrinate and mislead people, you need to reduce their access to right and objective information. So what he would do is he would isolate the members when they come to that church. He would isolate them and put them in those different huts and tells them that here is where you're going to pray and fast vehemently. Then he would tell them no mobile phones. No mobile phones. Also no use of mobile money. And also he spoke against education. He didn't want his followers to go to school or to be educated. Why was he doing that? Because he knew that with knowledge comes power. You cannot suppress and use somebody when they know better. So he would stifle that aspect of the church. And that is a key characteristic of many cult leaders. They separate you from loved ones, from people who would tell you, this guy from Kilifi, he is not right. These doctrines are not proper. He would do that, and he would also try to prevent them from going to school, because school would be empowering. By the way, on that bit of school, of education, he used to use the justification that school education is bad because it is not in the Bible. It is not in the Bible, and also because in school is where they teach children immoral things. And one of the examples he used to give was of gayism and lesbianism in comprehensive sex education. Unfortunately, that couldn't be further from the truth, and it is so sad that many people were caught up in the lie. So overall, that's what I would say on that particular community, but it is reflective of other cults in the world, that they have a charismatic leader, they have a leader who has benefits that the followers do not enjoy, and he also curtails access to information and networks. That way, he can control and oppress you.
According to the definition of dictionary, is a group of religious people devoting to an object or a figure or a person. So when I look that definition, I see almost all the religions are a cult. Because for example, like a Catholic, many people the member of Catholic, they devote to one person called Pope, whatever the rules of that church will say. That is what they are supposed to obey. For example, they are being denied to use the family planning pill. That means if you are a member and you are devoted to that leader or to that leaders, you will not be able to use the family planning, and that will be a problem to the society. So another thing we find, whatever the church leaders say, that is the thing that you are going to follow. Even if we say this is the week to fast, that is where the member will fall, and that is why they will find themselves doing something that is unrealistic, thinking they are doing what to please God. So to me, all the religions are a cult because they are somehow obeying a certain order or following a certain leader, thinking that that leader have the power. Whatever he say is the one that they will follow. As that.
I want to add something. This shows how the Bible is very dangerous, because the Bible doesn't change. So human beings are using the Bible for their own benefits and misguiding people. So just that point, the Bible is still a dangerous book because it never changes and people misuse it. Thanks.
Now, to pick from where Stanley has left, I want to compare religion versus cult. What is the difference? Because most people you'll find, forgive my voice, most people you're going to find they're in a cult, but they are going to deny that I'm not in a cult. Ours is religious. I'm in a relationship with Jesus Christ. I'm not in I'm not a cult. And yet you, from an outside perspective, you see them, they're in a cult. The funny thing is, they also see you in a cult. You see them in a cult. So I would like to look at major difference, to go through the 5 characteristics I've given and see, do they apply to religion as well? Number 1, they normally have a leader, a charismatic leader. Look at Catholic, look at any church, look at the Church of England. They all have someone at the apex who makes Muslims, they have the Sheikh, the Islamic, whatever. They all have this charismatic leader. The common one who was controversial the other week was Dalai Lama, the one who was caught with a kid. He's the head of Buddhism. So it tells you, if you guys you think you're not in a cult, you are just in a religion, but you have a leader, a charismatic leader at the top who gives the instructions. Jazia, members are not supposed to question. Christianity is opposed to doubt. It's the essence of faith. The moment you doubt kidogo, that is the devil tempting you. Come back here. Do not go for logic. So ask yourself, is it a cult? Is it not a cult? The other thing is, members are supposed to are encouraged to exclude themselves from others. One of the big weapons the church uses is excommunication. So again, do you think religious people are encouraged to hang among themselves and try and exclude the others? If you're in a cult, preoccupied with recruiting new members. I think we can't even emphasize that point. From Muslims, from Christians, they're always putting loudspeakers, especially here in Nairobi. God, there is a day coming, come to us, we are the right one. That's another one. Superficial charm, obviously heaven and paradise. Don't worry about the problem here. Come to us, we will take you to heaven. One characteristic I had forgotten about cults is they normally have unorthodox. They have weird behaviors. They have behaviors that deviate from what you'd call a norm. So you'll find like the cult in Mombasa, the one for Pastor Mackenzie. It's very weird to tell people to starve up to death. It's not normal. And it's funny that the people who are correcting them were followers of Prophet Owol, saying, hey, that's really a bad cult. For us, all we do is wash the road for our man, and and then the Catholic was fitting all of them, saying, hey, all we do for us is eat a man's flesh and blood in the name of, it's symbolic, If I told you there is a cult, a church X, there they normally eat the body and the blood of a certain human being, you'd be like, oh God. If I call it Holy Communion, that's okay, So, are you in a cult? Are you not in a cult? So, jijazie hapo. We'll come back and finally compare what a cult is and what a religion is. Thank you very much.
What I wanted to tell about cult is that mostly the leaders have a way of enticing people so that they go into the cult. Like there's a certain church I saw where if you're a new member, you go there with your program, maybe it's money or something, they help you out. I think it's a way of trapping people so that if you want to move out, you think that these guys did this and this to me, so I should stick with them.
So cults. The interesting thing about cults, growing up, I thought that cults meant that it has to be something really out there. Like, I remember people lying, saying that Jehovah's Witness. I grew up as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and they said we used to take blood, we used to walk backwards into the kingdom hall. It's a lie. But what people don't realize, a cult, it could be just general. We're sitting like this, we're talking, and it could be a cult. Why? Because of the doctrines, because of how we conduct ourselves. Like, without that doctrine, we can't live an authentic life. It doesn't have to be extreme. A cult can just be a set of rules as to how we're supposed to live. For example, like we have Catholics, yeah? We do have Catholics in our system, and people think, oh, Catholicism is not a cult, it's just normal, people are just okay. But like, when you think about it and how people live and they have to live in a certain way, think about it in a way that if we don't do a certain thing, then that means we have to, I felt Jesus, I dropped the body of Christ. So, anyway, cultism, it can be anything. It can be the normal things. For example, this, this represents my body. Who will have my body? Not my body, my body. Do these superficial or these random extreme things for it to be called a cult. But the moment that we have to act in a certain way in order to be, in order to be accepted into the community, already that's a cult. We had to dress a certain way, we had to talk a certain way, we had to preach a certain way. Already, you can't live your authentic truth. So to that extreme, that already is a cult. So I grew up in a cult. I became an atheist not so long ago. That was last year, actually. So I'm not afraid to admit that, yeah, maybe we are wrong. And the more we keep on preaching to other people to believe the same things we do, the more we push that idea or that ideology of cultism to other people. So can we just not be afraid to question our beliefs and learn from that, and not be afraid to question what we think we know? Because the biggest thing we can do as human beings is admit that we don't know,
So, cultism, there's this German philosopher called Karl Marx. So, Karl Marx said that religion is an opium of the masses. And in his book, Hegel's Philosophy of Rights, he said that he believed that religion acted as a sort of drug that numbed people, awareness of their own suffering, and kept them from seeking change in the society. Now, he also, in his ideology, he also saw that religion is just a tool that was used by the ruling class over the working class, and that is a thing that is very common here in Kenya, and even all around the world, because you realize that, to be honest, I don't know, but statistically, if you were to do a survey, you realize that most people who are, can I say, low income or something, they are the most religious in the country. Very religious. Of course, we have the working class also religious, but the most religious people in this country are always the low income. Okay? And because even if you look, for example, whatever happened in somewhere in Kilifi County, you realize that most of those people who are going there to suffer, I mean to pray, of course, to fast. Yeah, most people who are going there to fast, you realize that these are people having no jobs, people who are just there. Others are even traveling all the way from Bungoma County, Kisii County, coming to fast. Now, Marx, in his book, he also went ahead and said that he believed that the key to true liberation and social change in the material condition of the people, on people's life, rather than in their spiritual belief. So he believed that by organizing themselves and working collectively, the working class could overthrow maybe a capitalist system and create more equitable society. Now, there's also this part that actually this is one of the issues now we are currently having in this country. We don't just have cultism, we have destructive cultism. Remember, I would say that as long as that cultism is not harmless, I mean, it's not harmful, because we've been having this cultism for so long, though there are always arguments based on some cultism. Now you look at the cultism. I know is we have the Freemason, though people nowadays call it a religion. We have Illuminati and several. But now we can't know also what these cults are always behind. But as long as that cult is not harmless and does not affect or change the ideological thinking of somebody to an extreme way, like what we saw in Kilifi County, then having such cult, I see no issue with it. But now in Kenya, we have now destructive cultism. Okay? Now, what is a destructive cultism? A destructive cultism are groupings that are used to manipulate and coercive techniques to control to control members and engage in harmful or illegal activities. And of course, we saw a pastor overriding people's minds that you people should fast, while himself, he's having food in his mansions, okay? He's driving, he can go wherever he is, okay? Now, this group often have, they obviously, as Morris has said, that they must have always a charismatic authoritarian leader, okay? Who demands unquestioning loyalty from their followers, okay? So, therefore, destructive cults often use mind control techniques to manipulate and influence their members. These techniques can include controlling communication. Now, exactly that is what is there in Kilifi. People from Bungoma and all over the country did not even know that some of their families, you just hear your families in the coastal region, but you don't know because there's zero communication, okay? So that is one of it. Another one is isolating members from their friends and family. Exactly, that is what we were seeing happening, okay? Another one, inducing trace-like states, using hypnosis and other forms of persuasion and creating sense of dependency. Because now you see, you believe that a pastor or somebody is somebody you should depend on for spiritual things. So most of these people, even here in Kenya, you realize that even telling someone that as much as you are doing your Christianity thing, your Islamic things, ensure that you use at least part of your brain to know what is right and what is wrong.
So just what I want to add is let's teach our children how to believe in themselves, in the inner strength in them, so that if somebody comes to them, they can't be tricked to believe in them. We all have good and bad in us. So teach our kids to believe in their inner power that we all have as human beings. That will solve them being tricked by somebody else.
So a lot has been said about what a cult is, but I want to add to it that the first thing when you enter a cult, the first thing a cult does is to make you believe that they are right and everyone else is wrong. Like when you enter a certain church, one church, it has different practices. You go to a Corino church, they tell you mean you walk around without your head being covered. That is wrong. When you are walking around, your head should be covered. They make you believe that everyone else is wrong, but they are right. When you go to another church, there are some funny practices, right? Like in this church of this famous Pastor David Award, you can find they have a certain dress code. His followers have a certain dress code that they wear wherever they walk. They have a certain dress code, and if you don't wear such a dress code, you are told that it's very wrong. Even if other people who have of other different churches, they wear in another certain outfit, but they wear a certain outfit. So that's the first thing a cult does. They make you believe that they are right and everyone else is wrong.
It's interesting what Maurice brought out on comparing cults versus religions, because the line is very blurry and often it is the same thing, that cults and religions are the same. And how we decipher this is through a certain model called BITE, B-I-T-E, standing for behavioral control, information control, thought control, and emotional control. So we'll just look at them really quickly and focusing on examples for each component of the BITE model. So for behavioral control, you find that in cults, they attempt to control how you dress, what you eat, where you go, etc. So in the Shakahola massacre, he controlled where they were going and the fact that they couldn't interact with other people, what they were eating or not eating for that matter, because they were not eating to them. But if you look at Christianity, if you look at Islam, they also control your behavior. You are required not to eat pork among the Muslims, among Adventists. Is it tea? They have a problem with tea leaves and other things, such that whatever you do behaviorally must be sanctioned by your religion. In fact, under that B aspect of the BITE model, I'm reminded of how pastors control your financial behavior. They tell you that you need to put something in order to get blessings. Yeah, and it is institutionalized in churches in the form of tithe. So that's very similar to cults, and it's actually more or less the same thing. Under information control, you find that they try to curtail the information that you have access to. And they usually want to limit your knowledge to just the Bible. You've heard this time and time again, hey, that is not biblical. Yeah. Cults will do it, but so will religions. They will tell you that this is not in the Bible, so it is evil, and you should not do it. Under T, thought control, I see it in religions and I see it in cults as well, in the conventional cults, because religions are just cults that have been cemented over time, that have gained legitimacy. But you see that in terms of thought control, there are certain thoughts that are not acceptable in religions and in cults as well. You find that if you have lustful thoughts, that's a problem. Even Jesus himself was saying that it is a sin to look at a woman lustfully. Yeah, those thoughts are demonized. They even change how you think through certain behaviors. For instance, they make sure that when you chant, when you sing in church, and you call the Holy Spirit, as you summon it, it starts changing how you think, right? You believe that you are at a higher spiritual paradigm, but there's no such thing, because what they are doing can be replicated by other methods, including taking drugs. You can feel that same kind of spiritual elevation that churches, conventional churches do, and that cults do. Lastly is the emotional control bit of the bite model, where you see that they control the emotions you feel through guilt and shaming. In churches, you find that they threaten you with excommunication, or they threaten you with sanctions if you engage in certain behaviors, right? That's why you find that there's some couples who, if they intend on marrying, they have to go to the pastor and ask for permission. You are grown as adults. What is wrong with you? Why do you need to seek permission from another adult in order to make a life decision? So in that respect, I would say that cults and religion, piece of the same pot.
So to me, the cult is where you are doing something that is not common for all of you. For example, when a pastor say you can fast to death, but that pastor is not fasting, that is a cult, because you are doing something that your leader is not doing. The same case, when a pastor asking for money for you to be blessed, and that money, the pastor is the one that is going to take them to get rich through your money, that is also a cult. Because if it's a leader, it's supposed to be an example. Should we give his money instead of asking the others money. So for a cult, is anything that the leader cannot dare to do, but he allows the members to do instead of him leading them as an example. So anything that is not equal for all the members, that is not good. That is a cult, because you are trying to obey a certain leader when that leader is not doing the same.
Thank you, everybody, for a wonderful contribution. This is a very interesting topic, especially at this moment in Kenya, because we are undergoing a very big scandal, as you have heard in Shakahola. And they have been reoccurring, maybe not in the same magnitude. We have people washing roads in Nakuru for Prophet Owol. We have people calling themselves Jesus of Tongaren. These cults are everywhere, but I think nowadays, especially at this time when you're recording this video, because of the tragedy that is in Kilifi, where over 100 and something people have died, it's a very pertinent issue and very emotional issue. So what we have said is a cult. We want to look at it from the perspective. There's a very thin line. That's what we have concluded, or what I've gathered from the contribution. There's a very thin line, if at all there's one, between a religion and a cult. There's a very thin line. And most people who are in cult think others are the one in a cult. And those people who are also in another cult, they think that everybody else is in a cult. So how do you know a cult is a cult? Number one, a cult is a small but unpopular religion. It has all the characteristics. We have gone through the characteristics of a cult. If you take any religion, it has all those characteristics. So what is the difference between a cult and a religion? One is small, one is big enough. The other one they say is a religion is a cult that is big enough to be able to avoid paying taxes, because they are able to influence the public policy. And actually, Christianity started like that in the year before. It was called a Jewish cult, until Emperor Augustine said, okay, I'm not going to fight this cult anymore. I'm going to normalize them, and then focus on building our new capital. It's called Constantinople. So every religion, major religion in this world, has started as a cult. The war on, how Muhammad started the cult, the Islam, and the war that happened after they could not agree, especially on the succession. It was regarded as a cult, especially because it was a diversion from the medicine. So every religion, what has happened is that most cults have died. The ones that have survived are now in government, and they're able to exempt themselves from paying taxes. Someone else said, if you're wondering, after all this, if you're wondering, am I in a cult or not? Someone said, if you're wondering whether you're in a cult, you are in a cult. If you're wondering whether you're in a cult, you're in a cult. And I wanted to go through over 4 main factors that actually influence. This is not just cult by religion. And I'll be very brief. Number one is poverty. There is a very high correlation between poverty and cultism and religionism. The poor people seem to be the one buying this idea a lot. Number two is gender, and this is actually scientific. It's more women, because of the physical body. Women have bigger brain than men, but the bigger part of the brain is the one that takes about emotions and stuff. So psychologists will tell you that women are prone to buying out these ideas that are emotional based rather than rational based. Cultism, religion. So gender is a big factor. It's not a coincidence ever in the world that women seems to be the bulk in the religious indoctrination. Actually, they are the number one people who are victims in Shakahola and Kilifi are children. Number two is women. The other thing is age, especially age of indoctrination. There's a study that shows that if you're indoctrinated into a cult or a religion at 40 years or 30 or even 18 years or even 10 years, you're most likely to do something called comparative analysis. Because if I come and tell you now from today, you're 10 years old, we'll be using this Visa card. No, we're not using Visa, we're using MasterCard. You ask why. But if you tell that to a kid who is barely 2 years, they'll be like, oh, this is the card we normally use. So if you introduce religion to a child, you are suppressing their comparative, their critical thinking skills. But if you introduce them to the same religion, but when it's high, when they are at like maybe 10 years and over, most likely they are going to discuss those religions because they are going to understand why we choosing for us Islam and not Christianity, why Hindu and not Islam. They develop that kind of comparative critical skills. So age it's not a coincidence Muslims and Christians insist on Sunday school and madrasa. Because they know once you indoctrinate a kid, you suppress their critical thinking and questioning ability. Of course, the other one is charm offensive. It's a big factor. Charm include heaven. You know, people think charm is something. If you're told we are going to heaven, most people who died there were going to heaven to meet Jesus Christ. So heaven is a huge charm. There's also issue of desperation when you're sick. So you give your charm of you're going to heal you instantly. Especially if you have diseases like communicable, not communicable, but long-term disease like cancer or things that you might not heal. Yeah, health, money is a big one because of poverty. Connects to the first one. You're going to get instant rich. You know, come here, we are going to pray for your money, and all those things. And finally, there is something called peer pressure. If you're brought up in Saudi Arabia, you're most likely to be a Muslim. If you're brought up in an area where everybody is a Jehovah's Witness, you're most likely to think this is how everybody else is. You're going to take your small village and think that's how the whole world operates. So peer pressure is also, where you're born is also a big issue in all this. But remember what I said, if you're doubting whether you're in a cult based on what you have to say today, you are in a cult. Move out and think for yourself. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.